Hello, everybody. Welcome to Pharmaceutical Soccer. I am so excited to be here on this lovely, I guess we record on a Monday. I don't know what day of the week you're actually listening to this show. I hope on Tuesday or Monday, if you're a Patreon member, where you get the early exclusive access to the show. But excited to be here. Of course, I'm here with Valer Shabilla. While another one of our people is gallivanting the world at the current moment. Is he in London? Is he making it up to Liverpool to watch Everton or no?
Yeah. If you are a real friend like me who drove them to the airport, you would know because they'll give you the rundown on their trip. Clay Trainum is currently in the UK. I don't know where they are right now, but they were in London. They're going up to Scotland, then down to Liverpool, then back to London, then flying back home, I
I mean,
believe. I think I got that right.
there's an absolute reason why I can't take Clay to the airport, and you know why,
Why?
right?
No, what happened?
I I don't live in Nashville.
What? Since when?
See, here's the thing. You're trying to recreate me learning about the website at the current moment, but like I actually
Yeah,
didn't know we had a website.
the
So
magic
there's
is
no
done. The magic is over. Can't
Hey,
recreate it.
Valaire,
Uh
how was your weekend, baby?
Man, it was good. It was good. I for the first time since I bought this house, I did yard work here. I mowed the lawn.
Whoa.
I have mowed the lawn like once or twice my entire life before this. Very bad at it. I have no idea what I'm doing. But I'm nearing 30. And it was like, all right, I gotta be an adult. I own a house. So I've always paid people to do the lawn. And yeah, I just decided to kind of take it for myself and do it for myself. It was tough. It was not my backyard. I underestimated it. That thing is huge. I have a very big backyard. I don't think I understood how big it was until I started mowing it. But you know what? It was a nice little exercise because I don't really do that. So it's good to be outside. The weather was nice. We'll see in a couple of months how much I like it or dislike it. But that was the biggest change in my life. And
Valaire is getting
shout out to
so
my girlfriend. She helped out a little bit here and there. But yeah, I mean, being outside all day working on the yard and whatnot, and then going to the NSC game at night, I was so exhausted Saturday night. It was pretty tough. And then I watched Arsenal with the best 0-0 draw on earth. So, you know, it's not all bad. So it was a good weekend.
You mean that was the most boring nil-nil draw of all time? Like it was supposed to be hyped up as this big match, and then just nothing happened. Like literally nothing happened.
I listen to this podcast and they always say, well, I'm not going to say it because it has a curse word, but screw the neutral. That's where I stand on this. You are a neutral, and I don't really care about your
But it
opinion.
doesn't help you either. Like it doesn't help Arsenal at
Oh, of
all.
course it helps. You know when was the last time a team kept Manchester City from scoring at home? It was like 4 years ago. And this draw means that City's still under us in the table. And we literally are like one of few teams who didn't let City concede or win at home. So yeah, I don't know.
All
I can
right,
go on
sorry.
about
I
this.
didn't
It
mean
was
to
a
get
really good
into
result
it.
for Arsenal. I
Look,
don't care.
this is a National SC podcast, so we don't need to be talking about the top of the table, okay? We just need to be talking about the bottom of the table where National SC
Ooh. I
currently.
mean, they're like 3 points away from top four. I don't know what to tell you. That's the
Uh,
thing. People don't understand that like the table is so meaningless right now. Like I'm gonna go on a little mini Valerid out right now, a mini one. Don't look at the table. It means nothing. 11th place, which is Nashville SC right now, is 3 points away from 14th place and 3 points away from fifth place. That's literally one win that could change all of that. It means nothing right now. We don't know yet. I would say at least 10, 15 games for you to look at the table and say that. Now, obviously, you can look at performances because there are some really bad ones out there. But the table means nothing right now. I'm sorry, just it's not it's meaningless.
I'm somewhat going to agree with you, but also not at the same time because I think the results speak for themselves. I had a good weekend though. Thanks very much for asking. I appreciate it. I didn't really do
Oh,
anything.
you're gonna go into it anyway.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I don't know. Sometimes I like to be asked things too. like y'all sit here and just expect me to just direct the show and be the one being bullied and all this type of stuff, but
Steven,
nobody asks about me.
you signed up to host the show.
And I have
So
not complained about it not being asked about my stuff once in the past
okay,
six.
what'd you do this weekend?
I didn't really do anything. I
Okay.
watched. I started rewatching Peaky Blinders, so that's been fun. Watched some basketball. My bracket is currently done.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
So
same,
did
same,
some of
same.
that as well. I was gonna go to the DC United game, and just ended up being completely lazy and not going. So that was fun. I do think I'm gonna go to Loud. I think I might go to Loudon this weekend to watch some Loudon United. I got to coach my team. I got to make sure they're doing good. So it wasn't a bad weekend. I and got to watch my prediction be correct when it comes to Nashville SC, which I did predict the score, by the way. If we go back and listen to the last episode, I'm very happy about that. Look, it's better to talk about where Nashville is in a 2-2 perspective than losing 5-0. Not gonna lie. Um, Still doesn't necessarily feel terrific. I understand like the table may not matter, all of that type of stuff, but uh negative obviously like goal differential is different because of a 5-0 loss, but I mean, I don't know. It's weird looking at these teams that are above us though and being like, wow, they seem better than what Nashville is. Like not even just like on paper that like these teams above us do seem better.
They've also played half of the games, and maybe their injuries are to come. I mean, like that's my whole point. I'm not saying like, oh, like you should be satisfied with Nashville being in 11th place, but like 11th place means nothing at the moment because it's 3 points. That's in a course of a 34 game season. 3 points is nothing. So like these are the things that I'm just saying in terms of table. Like some teams are going to be performing better. Some teams, maybe like for somebody like at the top of the table, maybe they can take something out of it. Like St. Louis last season, for example, they won 5 in a row. They were top of the table. Nobody was near them. I get that. That's something you can take. And maybe somebody like New England who have 1 point all season, very bottom of the table. Everything in the middle, if you're within 3 points of the one before last and within 3 points of top four, it's really anyone's game. So yeah, I mean, but I think just the 2-2, the fact that there were goals for Nashville SC, I mean, it's more positive. I know this is controversial, but it's just more positive than speaking on a 5-0 loss. I mean, that doesn't seem. I don't think they solved any issues, or all of a sudden Nashville SC is a cup contender or anything like that. But it's just a better discussion. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, I do think it's a better discussion. I think there's some things interesting. I mean, so for example, you brought up, hey, it's only 3 points, all that type of stuff. When does Nashville get 3 points next, Fee?
I think against Miami away.
You think they get three? Like, and like this is it. Like this is weird. You know what I mean? Like this is a weird time to talk about this team because of the fact, like, anytime that we've talked about this team, Nashville has all like we've always had some sort of way of being like, dang, Nashville actually has some way to win this game no matter what. It may be ugly, it may be whatever, but Nashville has some way to come out with 3 points. We don't necessarily have that confidence in this team like we used to. And so like it does feel weirder, like with the start of this season. Like something like obviously the 5-0 loss was about it, but there's still some sort of cloud overhanging here when it
Yeah,
comes to this team.
I think it's hilarious that you say that. I think it's funny that people complained about Nashville being so defensive, and the fact that us as spectators and fans and media or whatever kind of complained about them being defensive, and then as soon as they stop being defensive, is what everybody's kind of asking, like, well, what happened to that one thing I hated, but I always wanted it there? You know what I mean? It's like okay, well, you can't have it both ways a little bit to me. Like if you want Nashville to be defensive, then you can't really complain a whole lot when they are defensive. So anyway, all in all, I think it's too early
Ladies
to
and
look at the
gentlemen,
table.
we have made it. Valair has made it. Valair has crossed over the threshold of his media, like just popularity, where he hates you as fans and hates all of the
What?
fans. I heard that. I
No.
heard that out loud from his mouth during that tangent. Valair
Which
hates
is
you and thinks your opinions are garbage.
like okay, so the game ends 2-2, and it's whatever. It's a game that ended 2-2, and it's annoying because Nashville had the lead again, and I totally get it, and people are upset. But like this sort of world we live in, that you either like fire the coach or they are the best coach in the world. Like I just don't, I it's exhausting. I couldn't do it with Arsenal when Arsenal were losing. Like I just think that's an exhaustive state to be in. That every bad result, you just go on Twitter and tweet like 10 tweets about how this man should be fired. And then every time they win, you spend those 10 tweets tweeting about something else, being happy and all that. And it's like there is a fine median. And like again, I'm not trying to tell somebody how to live or how to feel. If you want to be Gary out and you want to tell it, you want to go to the top of the mountains and scream it with your heart, I don't care. It doesn't bother me. It is whatever. I just don't know how somebody can live in that state, and that's my problem. Like maybe I'm just not as passionate about soccer or Nashville SC as you are. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is.
He hates you. Anyways, no, like I get what you're saying. Like, and it's always a conversation, right? You lose a game. Oh my God, Gary should be fired. Like just the way that we play, all that. And like I do. It's tough though because I do think there is legitimate concerns about the way Nashville SC plays right now. I think there's legitimate concerns about like what is happening on the pitch right now, the way Nashville SC does play, and we'll talk about that when I think there's a lot more to talk about when it comes to the specifics of this game here at the next segment. It is just tough. Like you almost don't know like what to give into because some of it I do believe is legitimate. But some of it is just like, why does this happen after every single match? It I don't know. I think it's interesting to kind of talk about. Yeah, we'll talk more about the specifics of it. I want to go over the poll really quick that you did post, though, the Monday poll, just because I also think that's an interesting question that you did bring up. And I actually have some thoughts on this as well. Go ahead, Blair.
Yeah, so I on our Monday poll segment, which every Monday I post a poll on Twitter on at Pharma Soccer Twitter, and you know, people respond to it, and based on the response, we discuss them on the show. So today's question was, or this week's question was, is Elliot Panico ready to be Nashville's number one keeper? Um, and I was honestly a little surprised with this. We got a little bit over 100 votes already. It's only been an hour or so, but I'm a little surprised because over 60% of people said yes, and only about 37% of people said no. And I think we're maybe I think people are a little bit dismissive of Joe Willis and how good he's been this season. I don't know.
Well,
Do you
yeah,
feel like that,
yeah.
Steve?
Oh, absolutely. Like when I like it's and it could be some of the question. Like it's could be the question specifically. Like is Elliot Panico good enough to be a number one keeper? I absolutely think yes. Like in some ways, I think he's. I do think Elliot's good enough to be a number one keeper. Do I think he's ready to be the number one keeper over Joe Willis right now? No, I do not. I think it's very like when it comes to having at least like even like just a little bit more leadership, just a little bit more experience. Like Joe Willis has that. He's able to organize a little bit more when it comes to a back line. And Joe Willis has been playing fantastic. Like he hasn't been, I don't know necessarily where some of the stuff comes from. Like he got put on an island during that 5-0 game. Like it could have been
Yeah.
10.
And
Like
so
it
did Panico at the end of the Columbus match. I mean, like Panico had to come up with some great saves because the defense doesn't seem to be very good these games. So yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, it is curious. But no, I do think goalkeeping standard has gone up in this league as well, extremely. Like I feel like the dichotomy even like a couple of years ago, like just goalkeeping itself, like even Schulte for Columbus is like he's a fantastic keeper. Like I know he went down, and we'll talk about whatever. But no, like it's I think it's an interesting question, and I think it's like the response specifically from people. I would wonder if they think Panico is ready over Joe Willis or not. I think that would be a good question.
Well, what I asked was, is he ready to be Nashville's number one? And that would mean over
Oh
Joe
yeah, I
Willis.
guess I
You know
guess
what
I
I
did.
mean? So, but I think there's also a bit of grass is always greener. Like eh, we've seen Joe Willis. We know his capabilities. And we know his downfalls. And I think change is always more exciting when it comes to sports because we don't know as much about Panico. And what we do know about him is very fun. He saves the penalties. It's really cool. Like he wears a helmet. You know what I mean? Like but I personally think Panico is a really really good keeper. And as far as number twos go in the league, he's probably at the top group. You know what I mean? And same thing with Joe Willis. I think he's a top group of MLS keepers in general. And it's not a position that you spend a lot of money on. So I think for me, like for me, I can see a world where by the end of the season, Panico takes the number one spot. But I don't know if I'm ready to just completely say, oh, never mind, let's put Joe Willis on the bench and have Panico start off.
Well, let me tell you, I really, just like you were talking about, like we get to learn about these players over the time. I really like diving into like these players' stories, and I really like learning more about them to see how things are done. Is there a spot where I can learn like more about players and their stories? Like, I'm very curious about this.
Glad you asked, Steven. Let me tell you about On Air with Valer, a brand new show coming to you on the YouTube. You can watch it on your TV. If you have a smart TV, most people have smart TV. You can watch it on your laptop. You can watch it while you're working from home. You can listen to it from your phone, whatever it is. It's on YouTube. Search On Air with Valer. That's my name. And what I do is I interview Nashville SC players. So far, we have Jack Mayer, episode 1. Episode 2 was with Sean Davis just last week. It's honestly, it takes a lot of work for us to put these episodes together. And I would really appreciate any support you can give us. So subscribe to my YouTube channel, watch the videos, share them if you like them, tell a friend. I think for Pharma Soccer, we've been doing this for a while and kind of has a space and it has its spot within the Nashville soccer community. I think for this one, it's still pretty new, and I would really like it to be as popular as possible because that would allow me to do more with other players, and hopefully we keep going with On Air with Blair. So if you enjoyed it, or if you haven't listened yet, go and listen. And if you enjoy it, please make sure to share, follow, and subscribe because, like I said, it takes a lot of time and effort and money and stuff to do that, and I would really like your support with it.
And we will talk a little bit more about the Columbus match following this quick little break here on Pharmaceutical Soccer. And we are back right here on Pharmaceutical Soccer at Pharma Soccer on our Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And then if you did not know, we also have a Patreon, Pharma Soccer. You can go look that up. Really help support the show. Thank you to all the Patreons that we have so far. You help keep the lights on to the show. You help keep the show being, put on all the platforms possible. You keep us like we wouldn't be able to do this if it wasn't for you. So please make sure you go check that out. If you do, it's only $5 a month. So if you do support the show, we would love to have you part of the Patreon. Also, go to our website at pharmasoccer.com to check that out as well. It's a cool spot from what I've learned previously. But look, we have a match to talk about. We have a National SC match that ended in a 2-2 draw. Prediction by me, made amazing. I'm not going to lie. I'm proud of myself for my prediction. Anibal Godoy and Hani Mukhtar both getting goals in the game. How do you say the Sean Zawadski, that
I
one.
think, yeah, I'm gonna commit to that one.
And then Minestraza, of course, getting the goal closer to the end of the match to make it a 2-2 draw for
You are
Columbus.
very, very confident in that second pronunciation. Did you
I,
just hear it or something?
I don't know. That one sounded so much better rolling off the tongue. That's kind
Okay.
of a fun name, though. Like, imagine like just going to, hello, I am Marino Hinestroza. Very like that, like it just like rolls, you know?
Yeah, let's move on.
Look, I think the best way to start off kind of talking about this match is kind of the injuries behind it. I know when we looked at the starting lineups, we knew we were missing Walker. The Tyler Boyd admission was very interesting as well because there wasn't any sort of suspension there, nor no injury being reported as well. Was did anything come from that? Did anybody ask a question about where Tyler Boyd was?
Yes, me. Uh, I asked. Did you know that, or did you just kind of?
No, I did not. I
Oh,
literally
okay.
did
I
not
thought it
know
was
that
like a layup. Like I was,
I
yeah.
Blair, I don't listen. I know you are a part of the press conferences, so I don't have to be. Well, I'm not even allowed anyways, but I'm also not going to watch them afterwards. I like your reports better.
Okay, well that's fair. Well, I asked about Tyler Boyd, and essentially he's been carrying a growing problem apparently since the beginning of the season, and it got to the point where playing another match would probably risk him. So Gary Smith, the medical staff, and Tyler Boyd came to a decision to take this week off and see if he can rehab it and get better and get ready for the upcoming match against Philadelphia. So that's what happened with him. With Shaq Moore, Gary said it happened 5 minutes into their last training on Thursday afternoon. So he did something to his hip, I believe. Don't quote me on that. I can't remember the body part, but I think, I mean, taking those two off is, first of all, he he was saying that he planned on Shaq Moore starting at the right wing back position, and I would almost guarantee he planned on Tyler Boyd starting as well, maybe over Schaffelberg. Now, obviously, it worked out with Schaffelberg, but still, I think there was a chance that Tyler Boyd would start, maybe even over Drew Yearwood on the right side. So I think those two were kind of the surprise ones. Of course, the Leal, Zimmerman, and Willis suspension, those were kind of expected from a Nashville side. But what was also surprising was from the Columbus side. So we already knew Camacho was injured. We already knew Ramirez was injured. These are two starters for Columbus. We also learned that Matan was injured shortly after, who's another player of those front three. And Jones, the former boys in goal, was Derek Jones was obviously suspended as well, which leaves the one big surprise that caught everybody off guard when the lineups were announced was Cucho Hernandez, who was prime candidate for an MVP, I think, for this season, just completely missing the match, and he missed the match because of a disciplinary team policy issue. Wilfred Nancy didn't seem to want to elaborate on that. And when he was asked whether or not he'll be part of the Tigres match in a few days, he said maybe. So I guess we don't know really what happened there until we know. We'll have to wait and see. But moral of the story is coming into the match, I mean, both these sides were missing DPs, were missing some important players, starters, and for injuries or for suspension. So I think that already kind of set a different tone to the match because you gotta expect Columbus to be a little better. I think with their starters. At the same time, you probably expect Nashville to be much better with Lucas McNaughton and Walker Zimmerman at the back. So I think that kind of that's the overarching narrative of the match. I think gets affected by those who missed it.
Well, and I get it in some ways for sure. Like injuries are always going to be a part of the game. I do think that Nashville has definitely been bitten by the injury bug coming in early into the season, which definitely has affected the outlook of the team. But I think the one thing that people like do talk about with this team, no matter what, you could pick and place different people on the back end, and defense is always going to stay the same. But man, these defensive issues are absolutely killing this team right now.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate because Nashville. We talked about this. What was it, last week or 2 weeks ago? I mean, Nashville finally figured out how to score goals, which was a big problem last season. I mean, if you look at anything after the Leagues Cup, it looked pretty dire out there for them in attacking front. But there, I mean, Jacob Schaffelberg has been an incredible player so far for Nashville SC this season. Sam Surridge, even though he didn't score, and I know we'll talk about them a little bit more later, but there's been a lot of positivity, I think, in the attack that you can take from it, and especially the way they played against Columbus. For most of that first half, Nashville were such a better team. I mean, Columbus were held to like zero point 0.4 in the entire half XG in the entire and I know like injuries again. We talk about injuries, but like Columbus are still the defending MLS champs. Like their backups are still good players, and it wasn't like Darlington Nagbe was still playing, Aiden Morris was still playing, Diego Rossi was still playing. That's a former Young Player of the Year in MLS. So like it's not like they were missing everybody, right? So I think Nashville finally figured out that part. What's unfortunate is that first half, imagine it ending 2-0 instead of 2-1. That would make such a difference. And same thing in the second half, of course, but like that first goal they gave up was just so uncharacteristic for Nashville. I mean, Schaffelberg is on a guy that's clearly more physical than him and ends up getting a free header in. And then the second goal is practically the same issue, but this time is a center back. So it's like, how many times? And then the penalty that came later in the game. These are issues that Nashville were known to not make. That was literally what they were known around the league, is that they don't make these issues. Going from that all of a sudden to making them every single game is really weird characteristic change.
Yeah, and I don't know where the characteristic change is coming from. Like and it's not, none of the goals that are being scored against us are like, wow, we're being outplayed here. We're being outcoached here. This play was fantastic here. That's not at all. It's missing. It's missing marks. It's not being as physical. It's different things that this defense used to bully teams. That second goal still bothers me so much. So, like, there's no way that anybody in that position should be scoring, especially the goal that was scored. It wasn't a good header. It wasn't put in a good area it wasn't a good ball across, but they're still scoring anyways, which is something this team would absolutely crucify opponents for doing previously. And it, it's tough. Like it's tough because it just seems organizationally. It doesn't. I don't. Does it seem specifically player based to you? Does it seem like, hey, these players are not performing as defensively as they should, or does it seem like the organization is not there at the current moment?
I think it's both. I mean there are some players who are underperforming. I think when you look at somebody like Jack Mayer, unfortunately for him, I mean Gary just said he was just not having a good game, and I had to sub him out. And I don't know if I disagree with Gary there, which is weird to say because Jack Mayer has been a solid guy. Now he's been a solid guy next to Lucas McNaughton, next to Walker Zimmerman, next to Dan Lovitz and Shaq Moore, and Joe Willis behind him. So like the changes, the constant changes of the back line, including the goalkeeper, it's just been exhausting. I mean, you talk about partnerships, you talk about sort of these center backs across the world who are like great pairs of center backs, right? I don't even know how many times Nashville SC has fielded the same center backs in back-to-back games. Like
Right.
it's been so crazy, constant change, and I really think we're underestimating how much that affects the team because it's not just a style of play. It's also when somebody like Walker Zimmerman, who literally every time he's on the field, you see the players play in a different way. He makes everybody around him better. And I know that's like intangibles and all that, but like look at every time Walker Zimmerman is on the pitch and every time he's not on the pitch and see how Nashville plays differently.
Right.
There's something to that. And then even when you like Alex Muyl, we know he's a good replacement guy at right back. He is not as good one-on-one defender as Shaq Moore, and we saw that at the Columbus game. Shaq Moore would have been a little more stable defensively, and offensively, I mean, they seem similar in their output. So there's that. Like, I
Well, I
don't
mean,
think we
we
should
talked
underestimate
about.
that.
I mean, we talked about in the offseason too. It was one of the big things. A lot of Nashville fans, writers, media, whatever's, who's going to back up Shaq Moore because Shaq Moore can't play every single match. And a lot of us were disappointed that Alex Manuel is going to be the answer. I'm sure Alex Manuel is disappointed that was because that's not necessarily the position that he plays. Like he was put in that position as a need and was kind of there. Like he was normally just a little bit more higher up, like on like a winger midfield position. So yeah, of course he's not as good as Shaq Moore defensively, but you still have to go out there and be. If you're asked to play that position, you got to be better. And but so one of the players that I do think played pretty well would be Josh Bauer, who I brought up last week. Like he's been consistently, like he's had a couple matches where he consistently has played in that spot and he's played well. how come Josh Bauer isn't getting more looks when it comes to being kind of that defensive replacement? I don't know. Like it something like I was talking about in the first segment, something feels weird.
Yeah, I mean, he is getting the looks because there are there are injuries. I mean, if you have a healthy Lucas McNaughton and a healthy Walker Zimmerman, Josh Bauer doesn't get to see the pitch because, well, he's not as good as those two, and that's as simple as that. I mean, as soon as there is an opening for him, he's playing. I don't know if there's like anything else Gary can do there. I think if we're talking based on merit, I think he was the best center back, maybe even the best defender on the pitch. Honestly, I would go as far as say that on what day was it? Saturday. On Saturday. Um, but I think again, if we're talking about merit, I think he earned the start against Philly, unless maybe Lucas McNaughton is back. And the way that things ended with Jack Mayer in the second half, I don't know if he starts next match. Now, Kalman is a more of a maybe journeyman in MLS, and maybe he has that experience to bring with him. I don't know. It's going to be between him and Jack Mayer, but it's crazy that we're sitting here and saying out of those, Josh Bauer had the best performance. And if Gary does anything, we know that he rides the hot hand. So I can totally see Josh Bauer starting next game. I also see Nashville not going to a back three again. They're probably going to go back to a back four, which means that, if Shaq Moore is back, then I think that gives Bauer even more cover on that right side because him and Shaq would be really good on one-on-one defending on that side.
Just a couple other things as well. I think on the pitch, obviously defending is going to be the big thing that we talk about right now because that's what's losing us games at the current moment. But I think the midfield I think the midfield looked a little bit better at some points. I think having Godoy in is obviously extremely beneficial. Having Sean Davis in as well. You could still tell there's a little bit of lostness there. And I especially think going forward, there's a little bit of lostness there. Um, but I don't know. What do you think when it came to the midfield kind of pairing and how they looked?
I think one thing with Godoy is that he tries to be forward thinking. And I say that word with respect because I think he tries things and he takes risks and they don't pay off all the time. And that's one thing you get with Godoy that you don't get with Top Reiner or Sean Davis or even Drew Yearwood. I think Drew Yearwood is struggling to find himself with the team. I think he has the capabilities. He has what he need. I think he just needs to find a good partnership. We go back to talking about partnerships. I mean, Jack Mayer looked like a national team center back when he was playing it with Walker Zimmerman. I think that's what Drew Yearwood is missing. Maybe it's Sean Davis, maybe it's Anibal Godoy, maybe it's somebody he can kind of connect with and know. Because that's the one thing I think that made the difference between LAFC and the Columbus match. I think Sean Davis and Anibal Godoy, with their limitation, with their inability to maybe move the ball forward as well as Nashville wants, they still have the understanding with each other. And I think they knew that Sean Davis was always going to be at the back. He was always going to play safe. And Godoy was going to be the guy kind of pushing forward and trying new things, whether it's with the ball or just positionally. So I think knowing that, and it's not as simple as just that, of course. I mean, I'm making it simplified, but I think that's going to be the first step for Drew Yearwood. But that's honestly very, very common when you go to a brand new team, changing system completely. I mean, playing with the Red Bulls for all those years, I don't want to use the word brainwash, but they have a very specific way of playing.
And he's younger too, and there was like a reason we
Yeah.
got him for a cheaper price. He wasn't necessarily supposed to be this like high value player. It was a player that Nashville could develop and mold into a center. Which like when he made the signing, like I was happy, but I was also wondering, has Nashville seen something in Drew Yearwood that we haven't seen? And like I haven't gotten that answer yet. You know what I mean? I've seen some good flashes from him, but I haven't seen him be like, oh hey, like he will be a starting midfielder for Nashville for the next like 10 years. Like I haven't seen that yet.
I think what surprised me the most about him is his ability to play closer to goal. I mean, I really just thought Nashville were getting another box to box or maybe even defensive midfielder but he has a goal this season, which is something the other centermen can't say. Like
Right.
and
Well,
he
that's
plays
now
higher
that's
up.
just how dare you insult Anibal Godoy like that after scoring an absolute
Oh
banger?
well, yeah. Now he
How
has, yeah.
dare you?
Well, yeah. Well, let's get to that. Let's go to that since you mentioned it. What a goal! I mean, honestly, it was incredible just seeing him kind of score something like that. I think it's great to see Nashville score something like that because that's like I think everybody here who's listening would have really loved it if something like that went in towards the end of last season. I think that would have maybe changed their entire season a little bit. If a goal like that went in against Orlando, I think things would have been a little different. Um, and that's kind of the piece that we're missing. Everything was going against them, where this kind of everything went towards them. And what a goal from Godoy.
Well, and I think that's why the defensive issues and not being able to hold on to a game is even more frustrating because this goal kind of gave me like hockey fight type of like boost of confidence for the players and for the fans around. It's like, hey, it's been a tough season. Like things have been it's been a struggle, but something magical happens, something great happens, and like the talking to other supporters and the fans about that goal specifically, that place, Giotis was crazy after that goal. Like it was
Yeah.
absolutely insane after that goal. So then you could have had that carry that momentum, and I hope it still happens. But it does suck that Columbus was able to get that other goal because that momentum that being carried is not as high. Just before we wrap up, I also think it's really good that Hani was able to get on the score sheet. Not necessarily like the most dramatic goal of all time, but the fact that he was in the right position, getting into the goal, like I think it's extremely, extremely beneficial for him and for Nashville as a whole.
Yeah, but before we wrap up, I think we need to discuss this. Nashville again fell into this sort of same scenario of going up, missing chances, conceding, and then drawing or losing the game. And I think this is the most annoying part of it. And Anibal Godoy talked about it to us afterwards as well. He said he should have put the third goal away. It was pretty much an open shot into the net, and by all accounts, he should have scored that. And he
He should
said
have.
that he took responsibility unprompted. Nobody asked him about it. He said, I'm a professional player and I should have scored that. So, and I totally agree with him. And I think we saw that against Miami. They could have made it 3-1. They kind of made it 3-1, and then the referee pulled one back. And then we saw it against LA Galaxy. They missed so many chances. They could have made it 3-1, ended up tying 2-2. So I think that's the concerning part, is that it's a repeatable thing that we're seeing with them. And then I do want to give a shout out to Schaffelberg first, because I mean I think I'm gonna have a film Friday about him. Let's hope I have time to make one. So that's a little sneak peek. But he's been an incredible player this season for club and country. And then the last thing I want to talk about is Surridge, because he didn't get his goal, unfortunately. But man, he has been, what a player he's been for Nashville SC. I think he's doing everything he can. I think he's doing the right things. And once he's just maybe missing one or two more goals in the entire season, and he would be looking really good. So I think he's a real deal, and I think I'm gonna stick to him being Nashville's top scorer this year. I think that's what I predicted, at least.
We'll have to go back to the prop bet sheet at some
Yeah.
point soon to double check and see. But yeah, I mean, and we have another tough match coming up this weekend. It is at home, but we do have another tough match against a team that's doing pretty well now. And we'll talk about that next right here on Pharmaceutical Soccer. And we are back right here on Pharmaceutical Soccer at Pharma Soccer on our Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And you can also check us out on our Patreon, like I talked about in the last segment. So please make sure you do that. Would love to help you support the show and be a part of our Patreon crew, our patients, to say the least. And also go to our website, farmsoccer.com. Cool places to check some stuff out. So check that out as well. Look, this weekend was also the start. I think some just kind of random league-wide news to bring up because it happened during the week last week, so we didn't get to talk about it. Referee union, referee strike is now over. So this week was the first match that non-replacement referees were back in. I believe for the Nashville match, it was John Freeman who was there. Was that correct? I never thought I would be happy to see John Freeman's face again. But the refereeing did seem a little bit more structured across the league. And I think everybody's going to be a lot happier to have the normal referees back in the league specifically.
It's weird. I received two text messages like with from folks saying, "Huh, the referee has gone better today than the last couple of weeks." And I was like, "Oh, did you know that this is not a replacement ref?" And they were like, "No, wow, this is crazy." Actually, they noticed, and I think the fact that they noticed tells you everything about the referees Nashville SC had in the past. Now, keep in mind the Champions Cup ones, they weren't replacement referees. They were actual, certified Division One referees, I guess, whatever you want to call them. But yeah, I think it's a good thing that they reached an agreement. There were still some things they talked about assistant referees not getting what they wanted in terms of that CBA, like healthcare benefits and whatnot. But all in all, I think the referees got what they wanted, and hopefully, I'm gonna be the optimist here since Clay isn't here. Hopefully, that pushes that organization to be better and maybe more transparent when it comes to refereeing decisions, when it comes to recruiting new members and all that. And I will say, if you are interested in becoming a referee, I think that's one of those jobs that we need to maybe do calls for, because like nobody wants to be a referee. So if you do, good for you. You should pursue it. That's my take on it.
I think it was a good take, Flair. I think that's a very good take. I appreciate that. The referees do not get enough. I'm not going to say love because they don't deserve it, because refs are terrible humans all around, obviously. But you should become one
See,
if you're
this is
also a
why
terrible
nobody wants
human.
to be a ref. And I don't blame them. I don't want to be a ref either. That
I
sounds
do not
terrible.
understand any sort of human being that wants to be a referee. Like, I would never in a million years understand like how it's a position that people can be part of. I could never do it. I don't think I
Yeah,
ever could.
no.
I don't even know if I could do it for like a youth game. Like maybe
Dude, the
for some
parents are
kicking at
worse.
6.5.
The parents are worse than the kids. Like I've seen it. I've seen it in my eyes.
So that led to, I don't know, league being the league over the weekend. I don't know, not necessarily crazy interesting results. Um, I don't know. Is there anything that stood out to you result wise over from MLS
Well,
that you want to talk
Colorado
about?
Colorado beat LAFC, and Nashville drew Colorado and lost to LAFC. There's no point here. I'm just reporting. No, it was a pretty interesting match. LAFC played a youngster whose his first MLS appearance, I'm pretty sure, scored a goal and then got a red card at 16 years old. So
I
it was
love that. I
beautiful.
did not even
Uh,
realize that. That's
and then
amazing.
because of the red card, they went from winning 2-1 because of his goal to losing 3-2. Georgi Mihalovic finally opening his Colorado account with 2 goals and an assist to lead his team at home to a win against LAFC. So that was pretty cool. Chicharango got a hat trick. That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
Salt Lake is
Uh,
looking pretty good this
yeah.
season as well, especially now that they have Chicho for a full season. There's still three undefeated teams left in the league. One of them being Cincinnati, unfortunately, because I don't like talking about Cincinnati being good, especially defensively. Them getting Miles Robinson has obviously helped them even be more defensive and better in the back than they were previously. LA Galaxy, our draw against LA Galaxy is looking a little bit better now, as
Mm-hmm.
they are top of the Western table, uh, playing some fantastic football at the moment. Um, and then the team that we play next week is also undefeated, and that would be the Philadelphia Union, who got a pretty decisive win over a really good Minnesota United team. Minnesota United, who's been playing really good offensively. They were able to hold them scoreless. So let's talk about, and I think this is where I've had a tough time like being optimistic from a national perspective, just based on the schedule itself. The schedule itself has been tough. You go from a team like Columbus, who obviously, like, you can even see on the pitch when they are full force that they have the chance to win the championship again. I mean, won it last year, and then to a Philadelphia team that still Jim Curtin solidified, like kind of getting over that Champions Cup hangover because they don't move on, correct? They lost.
They lost 6-0. Yeah,
That's what I
to
thought.
Pachuca. Yeah.
Getting some like them, kind of getting over that hangover to kind of move on and focus on the league itself. I mean, they Philadelphia is still a really good squad, and Nashville has not had good history against Philadelphia.
Yeah, well, let's so I think if you want evidence that CONCACAF Champions Cup kind of changes everything, go and look at the 4 games Philadelphia played. They played at like a very, very hard Saprissa side. They ended up beating them 6-5 in aggregate. It was a really hard fought match. They ended up getting a draw at home against Pachuca, but then got destroyed 6-0 in Pachuca. So it was 4 games, but those 4 games resulted in them drawing Chicago, drawing SKC, and drawing Austin FC. But then since then, they've had 2 games that they've won both of them away at Portland, which is a very hard game. We've both been there, Steven. We've seen what that atmosphere looks like. And Portland are good this season. They've been good at least so far. And then at home against Minnesota, who, like Steven mentioned, are have been flying until just now. So I think it shows you that CCC comes in and kind of wreaks havoc a little bit on your team and your squad. Carranza got hurt, for example, who has been great this season when he's not hurt. It's crazy that he's not a DP and might end up being in another MLS team or overseas. So Philadelphia losing him would be like really, really catastrophic for them, I think. But overall, I mean, let's not hide the fact that they are an MLS Cup finalist in 2022. They are Supporters Shield winners. They made the CCL semifinal. This is the same team. Jakob Glesnes is still at the back. Alejandro Bedoya is still part of this team. Gazdak is still part of this team. Carranza part of this team. Martinez is part of it. I mean, these are the same guys. They're bringing in some younger guys to kind of fill in those spots. They're still going to play that diamond in midfield, and they're still going to try to press you and have the ball for as much as possible. They're not going to press you as much as the Red Bulls do, but they're going to press you in a different way, and they're going to try to have the ball. Now, old Nashville, I would say, well, that's perfect, but now Nashville, I don't know if that's any good. Again, I think we're gonna have to take each game on its own merit. Nashville's still undefeated at home. Like, even with all the mistakes and everything, you look at Nashville, they still are very good side at home, and they still have Hani Mukhtar, who's capable of doing that, and now they have Anibal Godoy, who can score bicycle kicks. So anything can happen. I don't think I'm as let me. I'm not as worried about this match as I was about the Columbus match, which is
Okay.
crazy because I mean, obviously going from 5-0 and just the perspective of Columbus just seems unbeatable. But now Philly is they've gotten the results and they're gonna come to Nashville expecting to win.
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit more concerned now. It's just for a few reasons. One, I was really hoping Nashville wouldn't give up a lead against Columbus. Ended up doing that. Kind of like it just gives more solidification about, the worries that we do have now. Like, from a side, we haven't had a good history and a good run against Philadelphia before. I'm not sure if we've even beat Philadelphia as an MLS squad yet. I'm trying to go back and think. I
I haven't
know,
made my little graphic yet, so I don't know. I don't make
yeah,
a graphic.
I know we've had a tough time against, Philadelphia in some different ways. Um, I don't like Philadelphia getting hot and then having to come into Nashville. But look, Nashville, 2 straight games at home, no games during the week. They have the ability to get a little bit more healthy, get some of that organization and training back. Hopefully Nashville does like have, get, because I know, Gary kind of talked about that Randall Leal is finally back in training, I believe. We're not far off from these players kind of coming back from the injuries that they were facing. So hopefully we have a little bit more of a stronger lineup on Saturday. We'll find out specifically.
1-0 in 2021, Nashville SC at Nissan Stadium. TJ Sapong goal in the second minute. I forgot about that.
I remember that. That's
Yeah.
right. Wow. Okay.
So that's the only win for Nashville SC against Philadelphia Union. Not very promising for what you're trying to say, but I think you're right. I think the biggest part is getting folks healthy, getting these players healthy, and I think it's less about Walker Zimmerman and Randall Leal and more about Tyler Boyd and Shaq Moore. I think those are the guys that you can hopefully get back in, and you hope that their injuries are not as serious as
And
they
Lucas
thought.
McNaughton. I think Lucas
Yeah,
McNaughton is
yeah.
actually more important than well, I think Shaq Moore and Lucas McNaughton are probably the most important. I'm hoping Tyler Boyd's injury is not a long-term one as well. Um, let's just get into the predictions here and make it happen. Go ahead, Flair.
You know what? I'm gonna keep it going. I'm gonna keep it rolling. I'm gonna say 2-2. I'm just gonna copy you. And I think it's gonna be a Sam Surridge goal, and I think it's gonna be a Ronnie Mukhtar goal. Why not? And then Gosdog will score both of Philadelphia goals, both from penalties.
Ladies and gentlemen, friends of the pod, this is the week. This is absolutely the week that Nashville is back defensively. It's going to be a completely different week. Let me tell you, it's going to be insane how different this is going to be compared to what we've seen. 2-0 Nashville win against Philadelphia, a goal from Hani Mukhtar and a goal from Jacob Schaffelberg. Um, yeah, I think this is the week that Nashville fixes their stuff defensively a little bit. Um, I don't know. I don't have any information to confirm that. But here's me channeling my inner Clay to have that happen. Thank you again, guys, so much for listening to the show. We really appreciate it as always. We'll be back next week. I'm not sure if Clay is back from gallivanting the world next week, but
I think so.
if not,
Well, he'll
Blair
be
and
back
I
in town. I don't know if he'll be back on the show.
if not, Blair and I are still here to go over and we'll talk about it next week. So we appreciate you again listening to the show. Again, Valair is on air with Valair, and the last episode is great. Some really good questions to Sean Davis and a lot of good conversation. So please go check that out as well. But as always, we'll be back on the show next week. Thank you so much for listening. And Nashville, figure out your defensive stuff. I want to be right for once in my life. So please figure it out defensively. Thank you so much.